And welcome everybody to another edition of Inside Bodybuilding, episode number 8. I am your host, Matt Meinert, and with me, my co-host, Taylor Normando. Taylor, we have a good show on pace today. Our first guest is Tad, the diet coach. Tad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is a show that's really going to get to know you, the person, the bodybuilder, the coach, all that you do. But first of all, I want to know just how you feel about the industry as a whole. Do you like being labeled a guru, or do you see yourself more as as a life coach, or where do you actually see yourself in the industry?
Wow, that's a good question. Do I like being labeled a guru? I'm flattered that people think of me that way. I've spent the last 30 years, investing my own energy into this industry, into myself as an athlete and as a coach, and with educationally, but also personally and in all my activities. So I'm flattered that people recognize my expertise and recognize all my efforts over the years. But I don't necessarily think of myself that way, of course, but because I still have so much to learn. Every day's a learning process for me. So I don't mind. I know that I know more than most, but not enough to be satisfied. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Where did you come up with the name, the Diet Coach? Because I think that's is it marketing genius that you did that?
I like to think so, but it wasn't my genius. What it was, I'll tell you, it's a funny story because there is a small story behind it. I was several years ago. I was the first coach online offering services for this for this industry back in the 90s. And because when I was just out of graduate school, I had worked for Oracle, and I was still coaching people, but it was really just for fun. It was really just because I'd been doing it since I was 19. When I was in college, I was the head nutritional advisor for Oregon State University and for our athletic department, specifically our football team. So I started doing it then when we were just called trainers. And although I focused mainly on food, supplements, and nutrition. And then as I trekked through my life and got out of graduate school, started working in industry, I didn't want to do that anymore. So I focused all my energy towards this later. But it kind of came about after I sort of rededicated myself. And I was pondering I want people to understand what I do. And there was no gurus at the time. But there was no, diet coaches, if you will. And so I had a client who her name's Kim Wilder. She's an awesome lady. And she was a VP of marketing for Entertainment Tonight up in LA. And then she had quit that and started doing her own thing as a marketing person. And she said, and I called her, I said, hey, look, I got a question. I said, I'm trying to come up with a moniker or something that I could brand myself with because nobody seems to know what the fuck I do. It's like I try to tell them I'm not a trainer. I don't have the time in the gym with people anymore. I used to do that a lot, but I don't anymore. I just focus only on the nutrition. I give people workout programs and we talk about training, but I don't have time to actually be in the gym with anybody. So I don't consider myself a trainer. I consider myself a coach, and I consider myself a nutritionist. And she said, well, how would you, if you were to tell me what you did exactly in just as few words as possible? I said, well, I'm a diet coach. And she said, well, how about Tad the diet coach? And I'm like, well, fucking great idea. I was like, so really she came up with she was the impetus to come up with that idea. And it was just really out of utility that I did it. I wanted to try to come up with something that was descriptive so that people could instantly see my name and know what it was, because no one's going to remember my full name. My full name is Tadayoshi Luther Inoue. And there's no way anyone's going to remember Tad Inoue. People just been murdering my name since the time I could remember. So I don't, so I didn't expect people to remember that. They totally mispronounce it usually. So that's kind of irritating. So I decided just to go Tad the Diet Coach. And then I got a logo and all that stuff.
Tad, did you operate mostly, since you didn't do the in-gym training per se, you're doing the online diet coaching. How did you find clients? Were you taking advantage of forums and things like that as early as the 90s? Or what were you using mostly?
Yeah, well, back then it was like a lot of boards.
Bulletin board type things, yeah.
Yeah, originally I remember a lot of it was word of mouth. It's always been sort of that way. I've never invested a lot of money into advertising, to be perfectly honest, because it's just not something that I've really had, because marketing you have to do consistently, and you have to spend a lot of money. And I didn't know if there was a big enough demographic to be able to capitalize on this for this industry. So at the time, I didn't really do much of that, but I did participate on some boards. I don't know if I was very successful with that, to be perfectly honest. And I did do a little bit of advertising on Google, Google AdWords, but that was hit and miss, So it was just most of my reputation and my busyness came over time, just building one success after another and continually and not giving up and just keep going up. My favorite story, and then people ask me this all the time: how did you build the business that you built? And my favorite story is always the tortoise and the hare, because I feel like I've always been the tortoise. Like I'm this slow moving, tortoise in a race with a bunch of people who are basically hares, And my whole life has felt that way. And so, but I know that in the story, the tortoise wins because he doesn't quit. He doesn't rest on his laurels. He keeps putting one foot in front of the other, and he knows that the only way you truly lose in life is when you quit. And so I can't quit. I'm just not a quitter. If I dedicate myself to a task, then I'm going to see it through. Win, lose, or draw, because it's just the type of I don't do it when I do something. Like for instance, when I competed, I didn't compete to win. This sounds really odd, actually, coming from an athlete and a coach. I never competed. I wanted to win. I didn't compete to win or to get a trophy. I competed because it was something intimate for me. This was something that I wanted to be better than I was before. I hoped to win. I hoped to do this, but that would have been, those things are consequences of a really great process, a really great lifestyle, and and being in the right energy flow, so to speak. And so I do it for the sake of doing it. Just like when I was in school, in grade school, high school, junior high, college, graduate school, never cheated on a test, never always turned in my own stuff, never missed a homework assignment, always attended every class. And the reason why was because it was what I put out there in the universe is important to me. It's a reflection of who I am. So I always try to give it my best. And that sounds really cliche, but the truth is that it will be all that will be representative of me when I'm gone. You know what I mean? Yeah, so yeah. I want it to be good. I want it to be good because it's me. And I know how good I am. I'm good in the universe. I'm not perfect, but I'm good. And so I put out the best that I can for people. And I'm doing that over and over and over and over, day after day after day, month after month, year after year. And all of a sudden I look back and, almost 30 years later, I look back and I have a career in this, and I have a wonderful one. And so it didn't happen overnight. It certainly happened incrementally, but it happened because of those raw steps that I always do. Because my process for my life has always been roughly the same. Always, focusing on the stuff that I love, focusing on the stuff that makes me feel passionate about my life, focusing on the things that keep me in a flow, what I call the flow of bliss, the flow of love in my life. And those things have always been centered around, professionally, they've always been centered around bodybuilding.
Do you prefer working with more unknown clients, or would you rather, because I think one of the things that makes a guru is a fairly good list of notable, well-known clients, but you're such a positive guy. And I feel like a lot of those guys that have the superstar clients, they're willing to do anything. They'll go right behind your back and snatch out one of your longtime clients if they had the opportunity.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I think you're probably true. You're probably right. I do think that some people are probably like that. Obviously not everybody, but a lot of them. It's just, in this industry, and I hate to make general statements, but the truth is that the way I see it, in this industry, there's a handful of guys like myself who are very popular in terms of gurus, in terms of people who have a lot of expertise and people who everybody looks up to of sorts, and they oftentimes do what they do because they want the notoriety. They want it's really for them. And I do what I do for the athlete. So I'm not trying to say that I don't do my job because I don't want to make a living. No, I want to make a living, but I know that that's a consequence. So it's one of the good consequences of I put energy out there in the universe and it comes back to me. Always does. It's like a boomerang. So I take a different approach, but I do think that it is a little. I do like working with unknowns. I like working with people because I'm like the guy who always roots for the underdog, right? Mm-hmm. I know that was me. Like I was the unknown for so many years. I was the guy that nobody believed in, and then I won a national title as an athlete myself. So it's like I know that oftentimes people can be misread or they can be underestimated. It happens over and over, and I want to give even if I'm taking on a person who will probably or maybe never win a show. That isn't the point. The point isn't that you know, that I have a laundry list of really wonderful clients that win shit. I mean, that's great. I do have a nice laundry list of people who want stuff, but that isn't the reason why I do it, because it's so temporary. What I would rather have is build relationships. Every single person that I take on, I try to accept into my family if they're willing. I consider them like family, because it's one of those, it's just, this life is going to be so short. And when I look back on it, if I'm lucky enough to be able to look back on my career and my life as a whole at some point and on my deathbed, I want to be proud of the relationships that I built. I won't care about how much money I have in my bank account. I won't care about all the shit that I have in my house or all the stuff that I have in my life. But what I'll care about is how many people did I positively impact in my life? What kind of relationships do I have? Did I spend the kind of time I needed to spend with my family and my children and my friends and all my significant people that I love so much in my life? Did I make an impact in a positive way? Because the only real currency in life, in my opinion, is love. It's the only thing that really, 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 truly matters. When you distill everything down, everybody is seeking one thing, and that's happiness. And happiness is contingent on how much love you have in your life. If you have none, you won't have any happiness.
Did you ever have a life, a near-death experience? Because most people don't have that insight in life.
That's a good question, actually.
No one's ever asked me that. So I don't know how to answer this, because well, I'll just be honest, because I'm always very transparent. Yes, I did when I was 19. But it wasn't, and by the way, you guys get the exclusive, because I'm only a couple of people in the world know this information. So now a whole bunch of people will know.
How about that, Taylor?
When I was 19, I was going through a very rough patch. My grandmother was in the hospital. I was taking care of her. She had bone cancer, and I was a bodybuilder, of course, and I was very dedicated to this craft. I was studying exercise science and biochemistry and stuff like that in college, and I was in the dorms. And so I came out of the dorms and moved in with my grandmother to help take care of her. She got really, really, really sick. Everybody anticipated, that she was when it was gonna happen, it would happen fast. So she started going downhill. So I moved in with her, tried to helped her for a while, and then she had to go into a nursing home where they had skilled care because she had to have morphine. And then she eventually died. And when she died, it was very tough for me, because I didn't have a father. I only had a mother, and my grandmother was like my second mother, and my aunt was like my other mother. So I had these women in my life who are wonderful. My grandmother was a very important person, so we got to be, of course, I was very close to her. And so it was a big blow to me. And at a time in my life where I was striking out on my own, right? I'm 19, I had 1 year in college, and my twin brother, who I'm very close with, had gone off to boot camp at AIT because he joined the National Guard and the reserves to help pay for college. So I was alone, and so I was very depressed. And so there was a point I remember, shit was going bad with my girlfriend at the time, and so I tried to take my own life. I took a bunch of sleeping pills, and I drank some alcohol, which I never did at the time. I didn't even drink alcohol until I was over 30. And it didn't work. I remember my girlfriend woke me up the next day, because I went into convulsions and stuff, and she woke me up the next day, and she says, "What did you do?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I didn't fucking remember anything. I didn't remember any of it. And it was slowly coming back to me as she started talking to me. I was like, "Oh shit, that's what I did." And I couldn't believe that I even did it, first of all, because I was in such a different space. When I woke up, I was in such a different emotional space, and something happened. And here's the kooky thing. That night that I tried this, my grandmother died. That was the night she died. And I'm fucking firm believer, man, that she helped me because my girlfriend called the poison control that night because she knew I did something. And she found the bottle of sleeping pills in the garbage, and I took them all, like 80 something of them. And she said, "Hey, I think my boyfriend did this, this, and this." And they said, "Oh, well, what did he take?" And she's like, "He took this." "How many?" "Oh, I think he took about this many." And they said, "Well, he should be dead." Because I was only like $150, maybe, And she said, "So I should be dead," but I wasn't. And after I reflected on that weekend, after a while, I realized that I really felt like my grandmother helped me. I really felt like I had another purpose. I really felt like that every day after then was like gravy, was like the icing on my cake, because I should be dead. Like, right? So I could take every day, and I could lose all my expectations about stuff. It didn't matter, because in another life, I would have lost it, And so everything from then on, I felt that should be a blessing, should be a bonus, should be gravy in my life. So I tried to treat it that way. Of course, I fell in, as I've walked the path of my life since then, in the last, almost 20 something years. I'm 45 now. I was 19 then. I've learned so much, and I definitely have been a very cerebral and very philosophical person and a very spiritual person, not necessarily a very religious person. I don't really, to be perfectly honest, I don't really have much credence in religion. I grew up in a church, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think it's a great thing, but not a necessity. But I do think being spiritually connected is. And I do think being compassionate and loving is. And so those are the things. So I definitely had a near-death experience, if you call that one. And since then, it's definitely given me, shed some different kinds of light in my life and given me a different perspective because of it. But I don't think you need a near-death experience or any kind of traumatic experience like that to realize, to feel, to know, to really know inside who you are that what's most important are these things that we're talking about: love.
You need the revelation afterwards. You don't necessarily need the tragic event. It's just it's right. A surefire way to cause one for most people, right?
Well, exactly. I think that most people. I've always tried to learn from other people's tragedies, mistakes, lessons in their life, because I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to share our experiences with one another. Take it from me. It's like when you, of course, real knowledge. As some philosophers would say, and I do have a degree in philosophy as well. Real knowledge comes from what some would say comes from experience, real experience. Like you're, and I'm sort of a believer in that, but I'm also a believer that you can understand things in much deeper ways if you by taking note of other people's lessons and other people's lives and other people's experiences. So while it's not as powerful, yeah, sure, it's not as powerful necessarily, but it definitely can be just as meaningful. You don't have to try to take your life to know that life is a gift. It took me that because I was so selfish, so self-absorbed, so involved in myself. And that's the only reason why somebody would do something like that, is because they're so wrapped up in their own bullshit that they can't see that our life, every moment of every day is like a gift. It's a gift that we get the opportunity to build the life exactly the way that we want it. That's the power that we have in our life. I don't think that people think that life happens to them, but instead we are the ones that create and form and manifest life before our very, very eyes.
Isn't that an ironic statement though? Because you got, obviously after the age of 19, that's when you got heavily into bodybuilding. Right. Everybody says that bodybuilding though is a very selfish sport.
It is. It's definitely a very selfish sport.
Yeah, and it's kind of odd though, right? That on one end you're saying this, and on the other end you get into like the most selfish sport.
It's also, just to throw it in there, bodybuilding can also be very building yourself, right? So although you have to be selfish in the terms of doing it, I can see the connection because I sort of came through the same thing myself. So it's an act of building yourself and creating something. Right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad you said that because I started bodybuilding when I was 15. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I was hooked from the second I picked up a weight. Before I picked up a weight. But I definitely wanted to dedicate my life to it by my early 20s because I know that when you follow the flow of your life, when you follow the good flow of your life, the stuff that feels good in your life, you can't help but be successful, one. And two, it's what we all want anyways. We all want happiness, and happiness comes from following that flow. When you resist life, then that's when you can feel that resistance, that feeling, that resistance we know because we feel it with our feelings. We feel uncomfortable, we feel anxious, we feel anxiety, we feel fear, we feel panic, we feel whatever, all those negative emotions, they happen to us, we feel those things. So it is ironic that I would get so deeply entrenched in the sport, but I've used, the funny thing is bodybuilding, I was gonna write a book about this actually. Somebody asked me about this earlier. I've been asked to write some books and I haven't because I haven't had the time. But I thought about writing a book, and the only book I could ever think of writing would be one about my journey in bodybuilding and how it's taken me. It wouldn't be a book about bodybuilding. It'd be really more of a book about my personal journey, and it would go like this, and it's really reflective of what you're saying, which is bodybuilding for me was first about me changing my body to feel better about myself, my ego. Then it turned into an intellectual pursuit wanting to understand every aspect of my biology, of my chemistry, and how to manipulate that. And then it turned into a spiritual journey. So there was an evolution in my bodybuilding for me, and all these things, all these events, my attempted suicide, to my competitive career, to my coaching career, to everything else, to my spiritual awakenings in my life, have all been one step on top of another one. And the impetus was always bodybuilding. It was because bodybuilding for me represents change. It represents me having the power in my life to change who I am fundamentally. Not just, it started out with just my body, but it taught me that my body's easy to change. It's the other stuff that's harder, but more meaningful. And the ramifications of changing those other things are so much greater and meaningful than just changing my body. Just changing my body is very temporary, right? I mean, like, how many years are we going to live, and how many years can you really maintain a physique? Well, you can maintain a great physique for a long time, but the real changes, those stuff that impacts people's lives, the stuff that people say, wow, I'm so glad I met you. You changed my life. Isn't because, they don't say that because I have 22-inch arms. They say that because of who I am as a person and what kinds of changes, what kinds of reflections I have internally inside of me, and that I share with them and give to them. And so to me, that's what bodybuilding represents. So I've always kind of felt, it's ironic because I've always kind of felt kind of like an outsider in terms of my views of bodybuilding, and which is why people say, oh, where's all your trophies? I remember people asked me for years, where's all your trophies? Because in my career, I've competed about 57 times and 57 contests, and I've gotten trophies from almost all of them. I think maybe 2 or 3 I didn't. So, and it's like, people ask me, well, where are they? And I only have like a couple hanging up in my office, and it's only because they look cool, and it's better than like buying something from like Pier 1 or something. So I put it on, use them as decorations. And it's because the trophies never meant anything. They never really, what meant something was the change that I was able to do with my body, the process that I was able to walk through to get there, everything, the day. I mean, I used to explain it like this. My favorite show was always the Emerald Cup in Seattle. And because I've known Brad and Elaine Craig for so many years, for over 20 years, because that was my first big show I competed at. And I remember the first time I competed, it was like 1991 at that show. And I competed, and I was a middleweight. I weighed in at 171, and I didn't feel big, and all my friends said, you shouldn't do this show. You've only done 2 shows so far. I did like a show when I was 19 in 89, and then I did a show the year after when I was 20, the Bill Pearl. I did really well. I got second, and I was considered a bodybuilder then, right, at the gym. And so I said, no, next year I'm going to do the Emerald Cup. So, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, Ted, wait till you win a local show first, then go and do this big show. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, no, man, if I want to be good, if I want to be a pro, if I want to go out there and go to the nationals or do whatever I'm going to do, I got to pit myself against the best, right? So I did, and I competed, and I ended up getting second to the guy who won the whole show. He beat me by 1 point, which is kind of cool, Pobolic. But I remember sitting there backstage, and I'm pumping up. I was all draped up in my MC Hammer pants, what was popular back then, and my big sweatshirt, and I'm pumping up and had these fucked up mirrors. And I take off my shirt, and I realize after a couple minutes, after I take my shirt and my pants off, and I'm all oiled up and I'm pumping up, that everybody's looking at me. Like, all the other dudes in my class are looking at me. I'm like, what the fuck is on me? Do I look stupid? I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? And I realized after a second that they're looking at me because that most of them felt like I was the guy to beat. And sure enough, when we got on stage, the judges put me in the center, right next to Poe. Poe was just a little fuller. I had better shape. I looked nicer, but Poe was a little fuller. So he was 1 point ahead, and he got the first place. But that feeling that I had when everyone was looking at me, and I realized at that moment that all that work that I had, that all those dreams, all those daydreams that I had, all that work that I put into my body was paying off, that people were appreciating it, even if they didn't say anything, even if I knew that it was just that they wanted to beat me, that it was like gratification. That was awesome. It was one of the most amazing feelings, and it was what I sought after every show after that. So the trophies never meant much. It was that I wanted. I wanted that feeling of acceptance, that feeling of that the people appreciate the effort, but more importantly, I wanted validation. And now today, people can get that through social media.
I was just about to ask you about that. It must drive you up a wall. Everybody, that just, you can have industry quote unquote celebrities because of what you post and what your pictures, that your progress updates that you can post on your social media. And they didn't really I mean, I don't think most people today see bodybuilding and do bodybuilding the way that you do. And I think if we could get back to the way you do things and make it for, it's more pure, that it might just be a better feel around it. Because right now I don't feel like the aura around it's very good. And I think it's due to social media.
You're probably there's probably a lot of truth in that. I do appreciate social media. I use it. I love it, but I'm very transparent. So when people see the stuff that I do, I say what I'm honest. I'm very transparent about it. I'm not trying to impress anybody, but I do. But it is interesting though to note that, yeah, you're right. I mean, there can be that in today's world, we just have different obstacles to contend with. And the way I see social media, it's this really interesting space where people are just constantly, especially in this industry, seeking validation from everybody else. And if I've learned anything through my spiritual journey so far, and it's not over yet, then it is that we don't need it. That the validation that we really, really want is from ourselves, and that you don't, and it's automatic. Like, everybody wants everyone to tell them how wonderful they are. How many likes can I get? How many shares can I have? How many followers can I have, or fans can I have? And these are great things to have, right? When they're worthy of it, but more importantly, it's to feel. I think it's the reason why people do it is what bothers me, and that reason is that they don't feel good about themselves. So they need everyone else to tell them how good they are. Now they wouldn't describe it that way, but that's really what it is. When you think about it, it's that most people are looking for validation in with what they're doing. Like whether it be competing or whether it be how's my ass look or whether it be or whatever. I don't know how many times am I tired of seeing the same people stick their butt out and show me their butt every day. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate a really great butt like any other dude does. But do I need to see it? If that's the only pose you got, then I'm like, then come on, tell me something enlightening. Give me something that I could chew on that's gonna fill more than my eyes up with something interesting, but my mind and my heart up with something. To me, that's what I seek. But I'm a little unique. I admit I'm not like everybody else. So, and if a
person comes to you and it's a male or female, doesn't matter, and you can sense that they kind of have that attitude, would that be a reason for you to turn them down, or would you try to fix them?
Say that again. I missed the first part. If somebody came to me and did what?
If somebody came to you with kind of that persona, that attitude that deep down they're in it for the wrong reasons, and what you consider the wrong reasons, whether it's just this vanity that they're after, would you try to fix them and try to change their mental makeup so they're doing it more for the right reasons in your mind?
Well, it's fun. God, you have really good questions. You guys have really good questions.
We try.
Well, these things because these things are all highly important to me. It's kind of funny that you just keyed right into some of these things. I do like to help people because of this. I do take on people as projects. They don't oftentimes know it. I do it because it's the compassionate side of me. I know that there's greatness within somebody, within everybody, and some people just need a little bit of extra help if I feel like they're struggling, and I feel like that there's something that I could add to their experience, then I want to do it if they're in the right frame of mind. If I don't feel that they're in the right space emotionally, so to speak, in other words, if I don't feel like they're going to take what I have to say to heart, if I don't feel like that it will all be just thrown and flushed down the toilet, so to speak, then I don't want to waste my time, obviously. But if I do feel like there's some hope there, absolutely, I've taken several people over the years. As a matter of fact, every year it seems like I got one or two people that I take under my wing and I really, really give a lot of extra support to because they need it and they want it and they grow from it and they become better. And whether or not they win shows or not, it's immaterial to me. I don't care. I mean, I want them to win if that's what they want to do, but I want them to know who they are because I'm a firm believer that when you know who you are, and what I mean by that is we are all really the same. But who we are is we're vibrational spiritual beings living a physical existence, and our sole modus of operation is love. When you know this, when you understand this, then everything else becomes immaterial, and life becomes really, really wonderful because you don't really give a shit about the other stupid shit that most everybody else clutters their life up with. and it masks our ability to be able to feel and to be able to see life for what it really, really is. Instead, what we get is frustration, anger, and anxiety. Because I mean, my wife's a nurse practitioner, and so she's working with people all the time in her practice. She manages care for people, and she did it in a family practice setting, and now she does it in like a skilled living facility here in Pittsburgh. But I asked her once. I said, "Hey, so of all the patients that you get, what's the most common complaint? What's the most common thing that comes in that you have to diagnose and work with?" She said, "Oh, hands down, depression and anxiety." And I'm like, gee, well, I wonder why. Well, it's because we put so much pressure on ourselves, and it creates so much anxiety, and it doesn't, and it does us no good. It does us no good. And why is that the case? It's not because the world does it. It's because we do it. Everything that we have in our life, we have to allow into it. If you feel anxiety, if you feel fearful, if you feel unhappy in your life, that is something that, we each allow into our life. The only way that anything can enter into your heart and into your mind and into your experience is by you acquiescing. You have to grant it access, just like freedom. You can't take someone's freedom unless they give it to you. It's just the same thing.
It's a good segue too, because I want to ask you about a friend of our show, friend of the show, friend of the site. What was it like working with Aaron Singerman? Were you able to change him?
He was tough. I love Aaron to death. He's a great guy, and he gets it. He gets like energy. He gets positivity. He gets all that stuff. He's
got a sweet tooth though, Ted.
He just loves his fucking McDonald's, man. I'm telling you, that's his sweet spot. It's like I would call him and I'd say, "Hey man, so how was the week, man?" And he's like, "Oh man, yeah. Well, I did my cheat meal at McDonald's." I'm like, "Okay, well, what did you eat?" And then he's like, "Fucking give me the lowdown." And he gains like 7 to 9 pounds, right, in one meal. And I'm like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, "Dude!" And then within a day, it's gone. So he has this incredible metabolism. Like he really did have a very fast metabolism. And he was good. He was easy to work with from that standpoint because his body changed really nicely. But it was just nice. He was, and of course, it was a labor of love. Aaron is a good friend of mine, and I love him to death. But he wasn't that difficult. There are other more difficult people, and the difficulties never come from their bodies. It always comes from their mind. I try to break people free from some of the obstacles and some of the chains that they shackled themselves to, but I can only show them the path. They have to walk it. So you could give somebody a great diet, you could tell somebody all the great messages in their life that they should adhere to, but it's up to them to actually walk that walk and to adhere to the path. So I can only do that. I feel like I'm sometimes just I'm like a little Yoda, a little sage. I'm like this little sort of person that just takes people by the hand and shows them the path, but they got to walk it. That's
the toughest part about this whole thing. Yeah,
it is, but it's also the most rewarding and fun part. I love this part. I truly believe that, and feel in my life that I was born and designed for this. Like this is what I was born and designed to do, amongst other things. But at this stage of my life, it's something I truly get a lot of inspiration from.
Have you ever thought about legally changing your name to Tad the Diet Coach?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I never thought about it. I love my name. I love the heritage of my name. My name, Tadayoshi, means in Japanese, I think it means noble warrior. And my last name, Inoue, in Japan means the rising sun. It has several meanings, but that's the one I like the best, the rising sun. So it's, but I never really, I never thought about it, but that would be.
I think you're more of the Diet Coach than the rising sun.
Yeah.
When it's settled, yeah.
Hey Taylor, let's switch gears. I know we got to hit Tad up with some current event bodybuilding stuff.
Just when he was getting into it, Tad, I have a question. Since you were you pretty much were blazing your own trail with the online coaching, how did you come up with the formula? Like, did you still have people do weekly check-ins? Like, by now there's a formula that every coach kind of they know you either do Sunday check-ins, Tuesday check-ins, whatever, and then they send the email update. Boom, talk to me next week. Did you come to that by yourself, or how did you figure out even how to start it when there was no groundwork?
I didn't know anybody else who was doing this when I was doing it. I didn't know anybody else who was doing weekly check-ins. I call everybody once a week that I work with on my premium stuff, on my premium coaching. So it's definitely it's definitely something that I had to come up with. I came up with it based on here's a little bit of bodybuilding history for you. Back in the late 80s and early 90s when I was first getting started, and the first gym I ever worked out at, first hardcore bodybuilding gym, was called Downing's Gym in Corvallis, Oregon. Pat Downing owned it. He's awesome. I still know him today. He's probably he was my first mentor. He was the chairman of the NPC in Oregon at the time for that district, and he was my first mentor. And I remember getting ready for his show. It was the first show at age of 19. So in 1989, I started dieting for his show, the Western Oregon, and he said, "Come to me every week, Dad. I want to check your body fat, and we're going to see what you're doing." Because he did it for me for free at the time. There was no coaches back then, and and the reason why was because he wanted to have a successful show. And I was one of the guys in the gym, and he saw me from 17 to 19 from that point, because I joined his gym when I was 17, and I was so excited. I mean, I was the guy. I bought the first ticket that year that I showed up at 17. I bought the first ticket to his show because I'd never been to a bodybuilding show before, and I came to him every week. Man, he's like, "Don't worry, Tad, I'm going to give you the first ticket." So so when I did his show the first time when I was 19, he watched him every week, and that was his rule. For me, he didn't do this for everybody, but it was me. So I just sort of adopted that. It worked so well for me because I felt that every week, if I didn't talk to him, if I didn't have if I didn't get, know that I was on the right track every 7 days, then I might fall away from my path, and I might not, do well. So I adopted that into my own coaching, and I just sort of took it as the norm. I've never really looked to see what everybody else was doing, because so many people, I don't want to duplicate mistakes. If I'm going to make a mistake, it's going to be my own mistake. And so because I think I've always learned better that way. So I came up with a good strategy, a good formula. And I thought that was it. And everybody who I've ever worked with seemed to really enjoy those talks and those conversations, because half the time it's not even about their diet. It's about the stuff that we're talking about, stuff to get them through the week. Because part of being a coach isn't just giving a person a diet. If that's all that it was, then I practically don't need to talk to you almost. It's beneficial to, but it's not a necessity. But if you need to be encouraged, if you need to, because we feed off of each other's energy. And sometimes people need that. They need that encouragement. They need someone to tell them physically, you're on the right track. Everything is going good. They need that. They need to hear it from you. They need to feel your energy. And that's and so I think that's probably one of the values. They also need to know that you care. And I actually do give a shit about every single person I work with. So nobody is a number. That's just not what it is for me. I would never operate that way, because I was an athlete too. I've had a couple of coaches in my lifetime, and it doesn't feel good. And I don't, and I move away from everything in my life that doesn't feel good. So I don't want to create that for anybody else. So I think I just came up with it myself because I thought that it would work the best, because I wanted everyone to be successful. I realized everybody wouldn't win shows, but I wanted everyone to be successful. And the only way for me to ensure that to the best of my ability was to be able to have constant communication with them. So I give all my clients my cell number. They're all allowed to text me anytime they want. I just tell them that on Sundays is my day for my family, and I might not be as timely with my response as on that day as I might.
How many clients are you working with now?
Usually between 100 to 150 people.
You're calling every one of those every week?
Yeah.
Wow. You must like, your throat must hurt at the end of the day.
It does. Sometimes I do feel, but I really enjoy this. I really do enjoy the talks. I really do. Some people it's like 5 minutes. Other people it's like 30. So it just depends on the person. And some people I don't get them because they have some schedule conflict. But so there's a lot of that. But in the end, yeah, I do. I have to talk a lot. Like I tell people always I tell people look, if you're going to call me during the day, like don't expect me to pick up the phone. Like text me or email me, because I'm probably on the phone. And, and I never cut people off. So if they have another question and another one and another one, I give them the answers, because I don't know. I never wanted to be one of those people I always saw in those movies when somebody's like seeing like a psychologist or a counselor, and they're like, and they got a timer on their desk. Like, oh, time's up. We'll talk. Yeah. We'll be digging into that next week. Like, that's not acceptable for me in my practice, because, well, next week could be the damn show.
Right. You said you don't like to really look and see what any other coaches are doing, but you must see it indirectly when they come to you and you said, who'd you work with before? Or if a girl comes into your office or talks to you on the phone and she has metabolic damage from the last coach, are you seeing like it? Because everybody's got a coach these days. I feel like nobody goes to a show and does it on their own. Is it getting better or worse? Just the coaching, if you were to like surmise it from indirect knowledge, where are we at right now with coaches?
Well, in my opinion, I think that the coach in general, if you were to have a meter on the industry and say coaching as a whole, right, is it better, worse, or the same? I'd say it's worse because there's so many people trying to coach people, and most of those people don't know how to do it correctly. They know how to they might be able to. Most of those people are reasonably competent to be able to give somebody a reasonably healthy lifestyle, but not eat this and eat these kinds of foods, but are they really competent enough to be able to take somebody through a prep without damaging their body, without overcome obstacles within each individual's person's metabolism or each individual person's journey, prep journey? Can they do that? Well, that takes experience. There's no book that's going to be able to tell you. You just have to work with a lot of people over and over and over. You learn from your mistakes. So it's like I wouldn't ever consider going to a doctor who took like 5 classes. I want someone who's been, if I was going to have some kind of procedure done, I want a physician or a surgeon who's like experienced, right? I mean, because I'm not going to go to, so therefore, why would I go to a coach? This person is telling me what to put in my body. And if they've done like 3 shows, good for them. And they could have won every single one of them. They could have looked amazing. But does that mean that they have the expertise to be able to help me be just as amazing? No.
Well, you know what it is? It's just to play devil's advocate. I would say, like, if you're a new coach, you could sell somebody with, well, I'm going to be there every step of the way with you. Don't go to Tad because he has 150 clients. There's no way that Tad could give you the attention that I'll give you. You follow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's certainly a logic. I'd say that a little bit of great attention is better than a lot of bad attention.
That's a good point.
Give me a lot of attention with bad advice, because I've known lots of people who do that go and they go, oh, well, I found somebody local who can help me. I'm like, okay, well, good luck, and let me know if you need anything. And they come back later and they're like, oh yeah, well, she didn't know what she was doing, or I wasn't able to make it to the show. She said, or they fucking dropped him down to like 0 carbs for like 10 weeks and like 3 hours of cardio and like all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Why would you do that? I'm like, and it's like, it's so, and a lot of that comes out. You can always, whenever I hear stories like that, it's always because the coach is frustrated. They don't know how to compensate. They don't know how to handle the body. So they just drop everything. They say, you know what, more cardio, less food. More cardio, less food, more drugs. Here, take some thyroid. Here, take some clenbuterol. Here, take this. It's like, man, fuck. I mean, yeah, that's a great formula for disaster, and it usually has to do with them not really having the expertise that they really need to be able to bring everyone that they work with to work to the end result that they want for a contest. And some people are harder to work with than others, their bodies, but the coach if you have enough experience, then they can identify these things. Because I'm very honest with people. I never take on people that I can't give attention to my liking, because everybody who steps on stage that I work with, they're a representation of me. And I'd rather someone just wait or work with somebody else and get a good experience and not then get a bad one. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hey Taylor, let's switch gears with Tad. We won't keep him all afternoon, even though we'd like to. But the bell's about to go off, right? Until next interview. Let's do. We got a Mr. Olympia coming up.
Okay.
Are we going to see any surprises? Because I know, at least on my forum, on the Projectbodybuilding.com forum, there's a lot of people that are like, 1 through 6 is going to be predictable. The real show starts at 7 through 12. What do you think?
It's hard to say every year. It's hard to say, but I think there's not going to be a lot of surprises with a couple of placements. But there's always the wild card. There's always the Olympia, and I've had lots of interesting conversations with like Jim about this stuff, and so I think a lot of people think some of this stuff is predetermined. But it's not.
Gear Sports Nutrition, the most revolutionary and groundbreaking ideas. The ideas that turn an entire industry on its ear. The true game changers. These ideas are often so simple, it makes you think, why has no one ever thought of doing this before? Gear Sports Nutrition is back and better than ever. Introducing a new fat burner that will change the game. Thermo G, the highest quality ingredients proven safe, effective, and deliver the most advanced results. Visit Gear Sports Nutrition at their new home, www.gearsportsnutrition.com, and be a part of the revolution. Gear Sports Nutrition and Project Bodybuilding. It just makes sense. GearSportsNutrition.com.
There's the interesting people. I think that well, I'll put it this way. Like I don't think that anyone's going to dethrone Phil Heath. I think that he's going to win again. I think that this year he's going to be better than he's been in the past. I think he's gotten a lot of criticism for some of the issues that he has created within personally and also in his physique. His physique is actually phenomenal, and in my opinion, and he's a good friend of mine, so I'm not just saying this because I'm his friend, but I'm saying this because as a body. But my favorite physique is Sean Roden's. Sean, to me, has like got the kind of physique that is, when I think of bodybuilding, it's him. It's physiques like his, that inspire me the most. But it's because it's prettier. But that's just me, though. Doesn't mean that at that day of the show anything can happen. Like I try to always be very, very objective when I sit there, look at the guys on stage, and I try to be very, very objective. And when it comes to, even though I do have my favorites, like I'm friends with Phil, I want to see him win, but I'm also friends with Sean, I want to see him win. But I kind of like Sean's physique a little bit better, But anything can happen. I think the most interesting stuff this year is going to be, and I don't have the whole list in front of me, like who's going to be there, but I think some of the most interesting stuff is going to be like Ramy. He's going to be interesting to watch, and I think Dennis Wolf will be interesting to watch. He's always interesting to watch because he's one of the guys that has surprised me the most, because I never really liked his physique until probably the last 3 or 4 years, because he was one of those few guys that who he did exactly with his physique what he said he was going to do. I need to put more size on my back. He did. He put more size on his legs. He did. He put more size on his arms. He did. It's like, and that is fucking hard for a guy that tall. And he's a real fan of bodybuilding. Like, this is a guy who really loves bodybuilding. He keeps track of the history. He loves this stuff. And so I became a fan of his. I also became a fan of Branch Warren's. I never liked his physique before, but over the last several years, I've become a big fan because he's a great example in the sport of how you can take no genetics almost and rise to the premium level of professional bodybuilding, all through sheer hard work and determination. And that is fucking inspiring. And so to me, those are the things that that's what makes the Olympia interesting. I don't care who wins or loses. Because winning and losing is so nebulous, right? I mean, what's more interesting, and I think the industry would be good to focus on stuff like this, is the stories, right? The stories behind each athlete. That would be interesting, You got Cedric. I know Cedric's also interesting. I love his physique.
Can he do anything? Can he crack that top 6 or no?
Cedric, yeah. He can. He absolutely can. But will he? Probably not. I'll tell you, here's my opinion. Cedric, I think, has probably one of the best physiques in the business. The problem with Cedric isn't his physique. The problem is that when he steps on stage, he doesn't inspire anything. He doesn't. You don't go, wow. When I was at the Arnold this year, I saw Cedric step out on stage. I was backstage. I stepped outside and I wanted to see it from the audience perspective. So I sat down there by the judges. And Cedric steps out. He looks great. Who was there? Justin Compton stepped out there, and I was like, "Whoa, that's fucking!" Oh, he was like, incredible. And then I saw Branch Warren step out, and I was like, "Fuck, Jesus!" I was like, "Man, I did not expect him to go and look better and be. He wasn't pretty." But he was fucking grainy and he was hard and he was in the fucking moment. And I was like, that is inspiring. Is
that because we've talked about this on other shows before? Is that initial wow factor almost more important than the comparison in a mandatory pose?
Well, I'm going to tell you as a judge, yes, because all these guys are good, right? I mean, they're all good. They all have winning characteristics. They're all champions. They've all won something. They've all won stuff to get there. The problem is that how do you make the distinction, right? I mean, because you could build a case for Justin winning, you could build a case for Branch winning, you could build a case for you name it, right?
Right.
So who gets the nod, right? And I think you have to. That's a necessity. You have to step out there and really wow. And some people have the wow factor built into their physique. Kai Green, Phil Heath, Dexter Jackson, they step on stage, they stand in front of the judges, and it's wow. It's like, it's like, whoa, shit, he looks awesome. It's just, and some guys don't. They have the wow when they hit poses. Those guys are harder to, those guys have a lot more distance to travel to win those big titles. When you're on stage next to other guys who just have characteristics in their physique that just stand out, that make you go, holy crap, that's amazing. That's why I say that Ramy is an interesting character, because he doesn't wow you when he steps out there by himself. It's only when you see the distinction and the contrast between him and other people, and and you realize how much fucking muscle he's got for such little time that he's been on the sport.
What would you do with him? Because everybody says it's only muscle maturity. What would you, though, as a coach? What are you seeing? Is he cheating on his diet as last week, or what do you think?
Some people might not like this, what I'm going to say, because I know some of the people, but he needs to get out. He needs to get out from underneath some of the people that he's with. He's the people that are with, and this is my opinion. Again, I'm not, but the team of people that are helping manage his career right now they only have their own interests at heart. They only give a shit about him winning because it makes them money. And he's such a nice guy. The guy is just a sweetheart of a fella. And I don't think that they're making choices that are trying to make him into a winner. Yes. But those choices, some of those choices are just not good for him. They're, I just don't, they're just going to be, it's on some of that stuff. And I realize the sport has a certain degree of unhealthiness to it, between dieting, drugs, and all that stuff. But this guy is gonna implode.
Any specifics? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, "What's that talking?"
You're implying it's drug related. Is the inability to get into shape?
No, it's not. That's not the reason why he's not able to get in shape. He gets in reasonable shape. He just doesn't get that graininess yet. But the stuff I'm talking about has to do with they want him bigger and bigger and bigger because they know he can grow, and he does. He just continues to grow, and he will reach a finite. His body will put the brakes on sooner or later, but it's the drugs. They're just pushing all this drugs into him, and now I don't know what Georgia's doing now, but the people who are making choices, like usually when I work with an athlete, it's a dialogue, okay? Because unless they tell me, just tell me what to do, and I'll do that, but oftentimes when you work with an experienced bodybuilder, somebody or athlete who understands how their body responds because they've watched it, they've lived it, they are the expert on their body. So I have to become a student in the first leg, and I have to say, okay, well, how do you respond to this? And that's not what's going on in his camp, and he doesn't have the knowledge base to be able to have too much of an input, but the people that are in charge of some of his protocols, and I think they're overdoing it. I think that they're doing things because they want him to win, and that's great. But I don't think it's always the healthiest. I don't think they're thinking about longevity. I don't think he doesn't need to be drugged up. The guy will grow no matter what. I've talked to DJ when good friends with Dennis James, and I was talking to him when he first started working with him, and he was coming up, and he's like, I don't have to hardly give this guy any food, man. And he fucking grows. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I said, what are you doing with him? And he starts telling me, and it's like, his body does magic, and that's cool. But you don't have to, you don't have to, it's like killing a bird with a shotgun, right? Okay, you don't need to use both barrels, bro. It's like, to get the same result, you want longevity, and he'll end up destroying his physique and probably some of his health if he doesn't watch it. That's what I fear. I would just want him to be happy, and I think that if he is happy and he is living in his bliss with this sport and doing his magic the way he wants to, he'll have the success. There's no way around it. He's gonna,
Is he a threat to the title eventually?
Eventually, yeah, absolutely, man. That guy's gonna, if he ever gets it together, or somebody ever helps him get it together, I think it's mostly, if he ever gets it together, he'll be unstoppable. I don't think that there'll be too many people that'll be able to take the title away at this stage in the game.
If he's in shape, does he beat Ronnie back in the day?
I'm a fan of Ronnie, man, at his best. The quality of Ronnie's physique was just so unbelievable to me. No, I don't think he would. And the reason why is because I just don't, unless he can get into the kind of grainy, hard rock, diamond hard, shredded condition that Ronnie was able to get and still retain all that fullness and size. Mm-hmm. So I remember seeing Ronnie at like 293. Now, granted, his gut was a little big, but when he turned around, man, and he hits back shots, oh my God, his glutes, there's just not an ounce of fat on the dude. And he was still 280 pounds, shredded, this guy was amazing. And he didn't even start using drugs until later on in his career. He turned pro natural like that. And people didn't believe him, but yeah, I believe it. I do believe it. There are just some guys out there that are like this, who are just that good, whose bodies will do really cool shit. So, would he be better? That's hard to say. It's like always hard to say. I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I think but we'll never really know, right? Because they're two very different kinds of physiques.
The one guy you didn't mention was, you didn't really mention was Kai Green. Is he done or can he do it?
Kai Green. Kai Green's the most interesting story on the block because Kai Green, his only obstacle for becoming Mr. Olympia, in my opinion, today,
is a haircut.
He has the best physique. He has the best one. The problem is, and he's had the best physique for the last couple of years. The problem is, he didn't deserve to win though. That's so you can have the best physique and not deserve to win. I thought that Phil deserved to win. I thought that the decisions were good. The top two choices were good in the last several Olympias. I didn't have any problems with them. But Kai's biggest problem is that he defeats himself. If you talk to anybody who's worked with him or knows him, they can echo this, that he spends a lot of time thinking and strategizing and philosophizing and things like that. And that's all wonderful. And I think he's very, very an enlightened individual to a certain degree. But I think one thing that he has not mastered yet is his own self. He hasn't quite mastered how not to implode the week of the show. People see all these photos and these videos of him like a couple of weeks out, and he looks amazing. And then he gets to the show and something happens and he just can't quite perform it. Or he does something goofy like he did last year with the whole debacle with him and Phil Heath on stage. And that did not float well with people, right? I mean, it just didn't. It's made him look very sophomoric and of course it threw. And I think the idea was, my guess, I don't know, I haven't asked Kai about it, but my guess was that it was trying to throw Phil off his game so he could get the upper hand, but it ended up doing the reverse because the judges don't like that shit. Steve was pissed. It's like, this is not something that they like. They don't want to see the sport marred by people with horrible attitudes or, or bad attitudes. This is not good. This is not good for the sport in any way, shape, or form. So I think, so it didn't really work to his advantage. Although it started at the press conference. I remember I'm sitting there going, oh my God, why are you doing this? It's like, it sounds like a high school argument.
We all thought it was built in for the NBC broadcast that never was.
It might've been one of the reasons why they didn't air it. I don't know. But because the first image that you want people to see of professional bodybuilding is guys at each other like this, it's like, it's great to see great competition, but I think everybody inherently wants good sportsmanship, right? I mean, I do, because I think at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun, right? I mean, nobody's killing each other, or not supposed to be. We're not. This isn't the Middle East. It's like, so we're all here. All these guys get to make a career out of this. They get to make money. Anybody who shows up at the Olympia is doing really well, and in the sport. And so this should be a joyous occasion. This should be something.
If all things though are equal, like let's say Phil comes in at his best and Kai pulls out like something from 2009 and he looks fantastic. He couldn't beat him then, could he? Because you got to knock out the champ, right?
I think you do, but
it's one of those things. Like, does Phil have to look horrible for Phil, and then Kai have to look his all-time best? Like, does that perfect storm have to meet for Kai to actually leapfrog him?
I think in this particular year, it probably would, just because Phil's got a lot of momentum, and if you talk to Phil, watch his videos, and people. This is one of the things that I always defend him with, and he and I have talked about it a little bit. People talk about him being arrogant. They talk about him being these kinds of things. And I say, hey, look, is it arrogant to know that you're the best? Right. I mean, that's the real question. Is it really? And I say, no.
But if you tell everybody you are the best, then you're arrogant.
He is Mr. Olympia. So therefore he is considered the best. So my point isn't that in Kai's eyes, Kai should be also saying the same thing. He should be, if he wants to win the Olympia, he needs to believe in himself enough to say, man, I'm the best. Now all I got to do is walk the path and show and let it manifest in my life. Phil has already done that. That's why Phil is winning, because he knows, like, hey man, I'm the best right now. I mean, he could say it a different way to make it more palatable for everybody else, but the end result, I don't think he's like that. I think he's just sort of, hey, look, man, I've won like 4 times or whatever, and I'm the best. No one's beaten me yet. And so that statement really isn't untrue. People just don't like conceited athletes. They don't like conceited people. They want humility. But I don't think it's unhumble to. It's like me saying I'm Hawaiian. That's not unhumble of me. It's the truth. It's like me saying I'm loving, because I am. I'm caring. I'm compassionate, and I'm loving towards everyone that I meet. It's not unhumble of me to say that. It's the truth. Phil is the winner. He is, and the Olympia title is considered the best.
Tad, though, do you think that the problem, though, is in bodybuilding, because it's a subjective sport, half of the crowd might see Kai as the champion, the true champion, and just because a panel of judges saw it the other way, do you think that's why there's that disconnect of, well, you may have the titles, but we know who really won?
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely. The disconnect is absolutely that it's that in this sport that we're in, we're not scoring touchdowns. So there's no points to be made. I don't care what any score sheets on the score sheets say. There's no points. It's opinions, right? It's a subjective opinion. And these opinions are based on people like you and me who get up on a judging panel and who cast their vote on who impresses them the most. And again, they know all these guys. They know each one of them intimately, right? And they've seen them compete. They've judged them in other shows. And so they're heavily swayed by what they see and by what they're personally impressed with. And that's called subjectivity. It happens in ice skating. It happens in all kinds of other sports like gymnastics that are judged by judges. And you can have criteria all you want, but at the end of the day, somebody has to interpret that criteria in a physique, and the judges do that. So I love it when people, I'll tell you what I don't like is when after the Olympia or after any big show, and you get a controversial decision where you have somebody like Kai getting second, Phil getting first, and everybody says, look at these pictures, man, the guy won, and I'm like, man, were you sitting at home when the Olympia happened? Because I wasn't. I was sitting there, and I agree with the judges on this decision, and when I don't agree, I say it. Happened to be last year that I did agree, and I'm like, well, and what bothers me is like, I get it. You like Kai better. You think his physique looked better in that picture, but if you're there's something different when you look at a physique and you see it in 3 dimensions. You see, there's a translation that gets skewed when you have a 2-dimensional picture. So pictures are not relevant when it comes to judging. Only real life can be. So you have to take that with a grain of salt when people come up with all these nice justifications for who they thought they should have won or placed. And I love it when competitors do this. They show these pictures right after contests. They'll go, look at me, look at the guy who won. I think I look better. That's one shot. And the judges don't judge you on one pose, but more importantly, they judge you 3-dimensionally. Right. So it's in a 3-dimensional space. And man, I'll tell you, you get a guy like Ramy and you show a picture, and then you stand in front of that fucker when he hits the same shot, and you're immensely impressed, more greater. It's like, holy crap. And Kai was like that. You walk up, you see Kai pictures, he looks great, it's awesome. But when you walk up on him and you're sitting right there, you're standing 5 feet away from him while he's pumping up or posing, and you're like, holy shit. And I've been in this game for 30 years, I'm telling you, I still go, holy shit, this dude's incredible, and same thing with all these other guys, so that's the difference. So I do think that it's because it's subjective, it does create this sort of interesting dialogue after shows, but it doesn't mean that I think that people sometimes forget that, look, you need to be there in person to really, really effectively judge, to really make that kind of choice.
Hey, Taylor, you got anything for Tad before we do 10 questions?
No. I was just scanning and getting my finger on the old music trigger there.
Cue that music, buddy.
I'll tell you who I'm interested to see, though, just as a side comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Dallas McCarver. I want to see what he looks like. I
made the bold prediction. I put him in the top 10, and I think Matt said I'm crazy, but I have the feeling, I have the hunch.
I'll tell you the couple guys who I think are going to make big moves. John De La Rosa, Juan Morel, the guys will make big moves at the Olympia upwards in terms of how they placed before. All those guys.
I co-sign that Juan Morel. I think he's only getting better.
He is. The dude's impressing me every year, and he's a nice, really super guy. I like him a lot. I like John immensely. John De La Rosa, not only his physique, but as a person, he's a outstanding fellow.
Yeah, we've had him on the show. He's a great guy.
He is. And so those are the guys I think will be, and Fred Smalls is doing pretty good too. Maybe I'd like to see him do better, but, and my boy Issa, I'd like to see him do better, but these guys, they have challenges with their physiques.
Oh, yeah.
It's a stacked show. That's all I'm going to say.
It's crazy.
It is. So we'll see what happens, right? I mean,
hey, Chad, I had one question. You were just talking about, earlier about your clients and the people you like to work with, mostly mental. I was just curious, the 3 qualities that you could say are a trend with your clients that you either have the most success with or the best connection for, like sort of 3 qualities that make a client a pleasure to work with, and then maybe 3 qualities that make it hard to work with, or if they're just
Sure.
the opposites, or what basically separates your good clients from the ones that you might not have as much luck with?
well, the ones the clients that I had the best luck with, the ones that are, the 3 qualities I think that resonate the deepest for me are clients who are positive. First and foremost, always positive. They turn towards the positive. They do not instinctively turn towards the negative. It's okay to be frustrated and to turn towards the negative at times, but it's the kind of personality that consistently looks for the positive that I get along well with, because that's the kind of person that I am. I don't need it, but I have the most success with those. Open, a client who's open for dialogue, who wants to share their life with me, who wants to share their experience with me. Those people, I can do magic with those people. Because I learned so much, from those kinds of individuals. The last quality is obviously trust. You gotta have faith and trust, man.
Yeah.
If you don't, then these are the clients that don't. They're always questioning. They're always second guessing. They're always trying to find another solution to problem when they don't like what they hear.
What was sometimes? I was going to say, the biggest shock to me when I talk to local competitors, mostly because people online usually put up a big front, but when you talk to people you're friends with that have coaches, is how many of them get other advice from other people and ask other coaches. They're constantly getting more stuff and then mixing it all together. To me, that's insane, because you pay someone, you listen, you trust them, but that's I would say at least 75% of the people I know, you sort of mishmash a bunch of advice. Well, yeah, and then you never really know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Yeah, because and it's like it's a science experiment, right? I mean, the rule number 1 in conducting any kind of scientific experiment is your controls. You got to master your controls. You can't be throwing in variables left and right and think that you're going to understand why you got the outcome you got. Yeah. So you have to control this experiment. So in my opinion, that is, look, take your notes. Don't judge anything until the results are in. Go through the whole process, go through the journey, and then evaluate afterwards. And I get this is I'm sure true with most other coaches as well. But you get better with people with each show, because you're learning just as much as they're learning along the way, and that's really important. Coaches who think they know it already, I feel sorry, because I'm like, they're done learning. Yeah. I don't want a coach who's done learning. Okay? Absolutely, no shit. Yeah. The 3 qualities that I don't get along well with are things like people who are closed, emotionally closed, intellectually closed. They just, I don't, people the know-it-alls. Oh, I'm a coach, so I just need someone to tell me, just need someone to keep me, for me to account to, or something like that, or some, but I know, I love this. I always say, I know what to do, but I just need someone to help me to make sure that I do it. Well, fuck, I can't do that for you. Yeah, unless you're going to move in. Like, you have to, either you're going to do it or you're not, right? Only thing I can really do is help lead you along the way, maybe give you some inspiration. But other than that, I think it's usually an excuse, because I've worked with a lot of other coaches and trainers who come to me and they tell me that story, but I know what they're really looking for. They're really looking for me to be able to share some expertise with them so they can learn from it. And I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that. But if they came to me and told me that I could give them so much more, so those are, I don't know. The other quality that doesn't resonate with me very much is a selfishness. Just somebody who's just completely self-absorbed and everything is always about them. And it's like, okay, I get it. The sport that we're in is very selfish, but everything isn't about you. It's like, it can be, right? And when you release yourself from that, success feels so much better. And people resonate with that. They don't resonate with somebody who's completely selfish. It's not usually what most people resonate with, even if they are selfish themselves. Awesome. All right,
I'm gonna hit that music now.
Oh, you're doing it now?
Well, no, I jumped the gun. You hit the music too.
Yeah, well, it's not
in inside bodybuilding tradition.
Let's not mess with success here.
right, now remember, these 10 questions, you can answer them rapid fire or you can go as long as you want.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1 with Tad the Diet Coach. Inoue. You coach Gabe Moen.
Yes.
Has he ever tried to get you in a pair of his spandex tights?
No. And it's a good thing, too, because they'd be bagging on me. He's huge.
Yeah. Just say no to tights.
Just say no.
I stopped wearing Lycra and spandex in the 90s, but I did wear.
You did your time.
I did it, yeah. With
Question yeah, exactly. Question number 2. With that Hulk Hogan voice you got there, brother,
yes.
Did you ever think about a career in the WWE?
I would have been too short, probably, but
maybe an announcer, though.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, somebody have told me, like, oh, yeah, you sound like Anthony Robbins, or I had a good, I've always had, they've said,
that's true, yeah, I never really put that
they've always said, you got a great radio voice. I was told that all the time, and I've always thought it would be totally awesome to go and do voiceover work, and I wouldn't even, not even to get paid, just to do it. I would love to do like cartoons and stuff like that. That would be so much fun. But yeah, no, I would. I really, actually, ironically, I really, really do love doing radio shows and podcasts. I love my own radio show and podcast. It's something that I do. It's a labor of love. I love doing this stuff because maybe it's because I like hearing my own voice. I don't know, maybe.
All right, question number 3. You're a big movie buff. What's the best movie you've seen this year?
This year? Well, gosh, what came out this year? Let's see.
We had Southpaw just came out. Did you see that?
I didn't get to see that. No, I heard good things about it, but I didn't.
Fantastic.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Well, I saw that movie Cinderella, right? Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about? The remake. It was like a remake. I don't know if it was this year, last year.
Let me couch it differently. What's your best movie of all time?
Best movie of all time. Well, I'm very much a sci-fi freak. So I definitely love like all of the Star Wars movies, and I'm so excited about seeing the new Star Wars movie when it comes out this year. I think it's in November. I want to see that. So I love all the I have all 6 of them. I watch them over and over again.
I can't forgive you for the last 3. That's just I can't accept those.
I love it just because it's part of this whole genre of,
for sure.
And also I'm a big sort of George Lucas fan, and he coming out of the Bay Area, I know a little bit about him and his Skywalker Ranch and stuff, and I think that it's a very cool. I like it because the story itself is good versus evil, and good work, good triumphs, right? And I love that. But I also love Star Trek. The whole Star Trek series. I've watched every single Star Trek series that came out, from Enterprise to Deep Space Nine to you name it. I watched them all, and from the very first initial ones, and I love that for different reasons, because I like the whole Gene Roddenberry put together this really awesome idea that, and it was probably because he's a product of the '60s, of a free love hippie kind of thing, and I love the idea that everybody in that show, none of them make any money. They don't do what they do for money. They do it because it's the good thing to do, and they do a great job, and they go above and beyond that what they need to do. So they perform at this high level of expertise and effort because it's the right thing to do, because it benefits everyone. Man, is that inspiring to me. That's the shit.
Is it safe to say you've been to Comic-Con in San Diego?
No, I haven't.
I actually wanted to go. That'd be hilarious.
It's one of my things I wanted to go to. Absolutely. Every year it's the same freaking weekend as the Masters Nationals. So I'm like always, so I never get to go. But I might go. I might in the near, maybe in a year or two, I might end up just saying, "Fuck it, I'm going," because I don't fucking dress up, man. And
we'll film it for Project Bodybuilding. I want to end on this.
Outstanding. Maybe we'll put that together. All right. Question number 4. Tad, would you rather explore the bottom of the ocean, the center of the earth, or the surface of the moon? And which would you pick and why?
Say it again.
The bottom of the ocean, the center of the earth, or the surface of the moon? You could go to 1.
Oh, if I can only go to 1, it'd be the surface of the moon. And the reason why is because it's like, with space, the final frontier, right? I mean,
right.
I would love to see the Earth from a completely different vantage point. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Just to see, because we live on this giant ball of chlorophyll, but we see it from this level, this view. I would love to see it from space, from a third person. It would probably make all of my problems that I've ever imagined in my life seem so minuscule.
I agree. That's a good one. Yeah.
So I think that was what I would love to do.
Question number 5. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say you wouldn't be complaining about your electric bill probably much anymore after that trip.
I probably wouldn't care. Yeah. No. I might complain about oxygen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Question number 5. How old, in your opinion, is too old to compete in competitive bodybuilding?
How old is too old? It's when it becomes something that is not, doesn't add value to your life. Whether that be 18, 25, 35, 45, 55, doesn't matter. You're never too old. I've seen guys 70, 80. I've helped guys in their 60s and early 70s compete, and it's only too old when it's not adding value to your life.
Good answer. Question number 6, squats, good or bad?
Awesome. Probably the single best exercise on the planet because it has the highest percentage of muscle recruitment and causes the largest hormonal release in the body. So it has the most impact in bodybuilding, from a bodybuilding standpoint, and from a physique standpoint. It has the most impact, and it's unfortunate. It's the most underappreciated exercise, in my opinion.
Lately, I believe,
at least when I go to the gym, I'm like, these squat racks, you guys are only curling in it.
I see tons of people. I say squats are the most done exercise in my gym easily. It's just people are doing them horribly and don't look good. But
I'm a little tainted because I'm forced to work out at LA Fitness. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, now you're not going to have me on your show again.
No, that's it.
I'm just gonna hit the delete button right now.
It's like the soup Nazi. No radio. 2 years.
No soup for you.
You come back 2 years. All right. Question number 7. You're a very spiritual guy. You said you're not very religious. What happens when we die?
We transform. Nothing ever goes away. There's nothing ever destroyed or created in this experience. It's only transformed. So I believe that our physical bodies will definitely go away, but the essence of what makes us real, which is the vibrational forces of the universe, which is what we participate in, is what we are. That never goes away. As a matter of fact, we transform into new things. I don't know what that journey really is. I can only guess, but I suspect that we live other lives. We have other experiences. We do other things. Maybe in this world, maybe in the next world, who knows? It's immaterial to me personally. Everybody spends so much time focusing on heaven, on what happens in the afterlife. And then at the end of the day, that shit is going to happen when it happens, right?
Right.
But what is most pressing is right now. I mean, we only have right now. So let's live it. Let's be happy and let's live it right now, because that was what we're here for a reason. And that reason we decided, I believe this, that we intended to be here as from a spiritual standpoint. And so therefore that intention is good. It has to be. Nobody would ever intend to be in something that was bad. So I believe that our focus, while I do believe in some form of there's something else beyond where we're at today, I don't believe it's a big focus. That should be a huge focus of our lives. It certainly isn't something you earn. To me, that sounds ludicrous, to earn something. That this life is a testing ground to earn something greater beyond. That just seems fucking stupid. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, because that means that my life has to be, that's slavery. That's slavery. You only get good shit when you do good shit. I want to do good shit because it's the good thing to do. That's the best reason to do it. Not if I was just nice to you because I thought I was supposed to be. I mean, that wouldn't mean a lot to you, because he's only being nice to me because he has to be. No, I'm nice to you because I want to be.
It's like when if you ever heard a very religious person say, "Well, if you don't believe in heaven or hell, what stops you from hurting people and killing people?" It's like, well, because I'm not a shitty person.
It's not a great idea. It hurts people because
it doesn't feel good yourself, even.
It's like that's not the kind of. I mean, people. That is a screwy logic, because what it intuitively says is that we're all nasty people, and we all just want to go out there and destroy and cause mayhem and havoc to each other. And that just isn't the case. I don't meet very many people that are like that. You only pour out of with what's inside of you towards others that you already have inside you. If you were a person that has a lot of angst and anger, and then you look for reasons to spill that out onto other people, and so everything becomes a great reason to be angry, to be pissed off. Like I'm driving down the road and you accidentally cut somebody up, and they're like, oh, they drive by, they're flipping up, hey fucker, like really, man, are you gonna get there that much quicker? I mean, like, did I really hurt you in some way? It's like,
just do what I do, but blame it on the trend. That's what you should do.
I just think it's kind of funny. It's like, and I've had people do that to me many times. I don't get upset. It's like, okay, well, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I certainly don't think that. I think that what we spell out of us is already in us, and so when people say things like, oh, well, people would just go and kill somebody, we just go out and start killing people or steal or do whatever if they are given the opportunity to. And I say, no, not at all.
Unless you're just a shitty person.
Yeah, well, I think that's the vast majority, because the vast majority of people have a moral compass, but I think that's why we have laws too. So
true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question number 8. You have a twin brother. True or false? Did you become a bodybuilder to look different than him?
No, I did not actually. I love my brother, and I'm proud to be associated with the same visage that he has. He's actually one of my heroes in my life because I love him so much. I can't imagine my life in this world without him. Yeah, I don't even have to talk to him. He's that important. We were one egg, and we split and became two people, and to us it's very symbolic of how we feel about one another. But more importantly, he's a good, admirable person, and I want as many of those kinds of people in my life as possible. So I became a bodybuilder because I did not value myself, and I wanted to I wanted validation, and I wanted to be able to change myself, and I thought that would give me that. My brother didn't feel that way. His issues were other things, and so he didn't. The funny thing is, I remember I wanted him to do it with me. I remember thinking, oh, we could be like the fucking Barbarian Brothers. But he wasn't really interested in it at that time, and then he got into it later, and I was glad that he did. As a matter of fact, he started competing. I remember he called me. He said, "Hey, Ted, I was thinking about doing this bodybuilding show, and I've been helping with this bodybuilding for several years." And he'd gained some weight, and he's like, and I said, "Sure, of course, man." And I said, "But why do you want to do it? You never expressed any need to do this before. This is maybe like 5 or 6 years ago." And he said, "Well, I want to do it because he's always been my biggest fan. He's been to more shows than anybody else has of my shows than any of my other family has." And he said, "Well, I wanted something that you and I could do together, that we could share together, and it's something that you're so heavily involved in, and I want to do that with you." And I said, "Awesome, let's do it." So we did. And of course, he actually did really well. He won his first show, won the second show. It's like he did really good as a lightweight in the first year, and then the second year he's a middleweight. So. But yeah, no, not to be different. I don't. I'm actually very proud the older I get to know that I'm more and more there's so much of me that is hardwired exactly like him.
Very cool. Question number 9: if you could change one thing about competitive bodybuilding, what would it be?
Get rid of trophies. Get rid of the placings and trophies, man.
Everybody, no placings.
No placings, no trophies, man. I mean, people want to stop arguing about placings and all this stuff, then hey, I mean, I still want people to get paid, but you know what? They all put the work in, and I think, everybody wants a winner, but nobody wants to be the guy who doesn't win. And I don't think it's all that important. I don't think it's all that important. I want people to win because that's the way the state of affairs is. That's the way that people recognize their work. But I don't think you need to do that to recognize your work. To recognize the value of your work. But I think that would be one thing that I'd say, you know what, get rid of all that, and see who's left. And I bet you the people who are left would represent the sport so much better than the people who are just after the trophies, just after the titles, because those people usually, now I'm not trying to put down anybody who wants a trophy or a title. I admire people who put everything into it to win, but I admire people more who put everything in there to be the best that they can be. And you don't need a trophy to prove that to yourself. You only need to walk the path. That's it.
Cool. Question number 10. I'm going to preface the question with, you're not allowed to say your wife.
Okay.
Who is the best looking female competitor in the industry?
My wife. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, I hope my wife doesn't hear this one. A female competitor in the industry. Well, I'm a little jaded because I have a lot of favorites, but Gigi Emerald.
Taylor, you know that name?
I don't.
Gigi. She's from New York.
How do we spell the name? Because there's a lot of guys right now probably Googling.
Gigi, G-I-G-I, Amuro. I'm mispronouncing it, but A-M-U-R-A-O. She's a pro bikini competitor. I know her. She's a sweet lady, really wonderful. I'm probably going to have her on my radio show. She said she would be on it. But she's I don't even know what nationality. She's like Asian. I think she's. Can't remember what she told me. God, I can't remember exactly. But she's very beautiful, and she reminds me of my first wife. Her face, she looks very much like my first wife. And I love dark features and that exotic look, and so she's definitely a beautiful woman. I don't really necessarily like, to be honest. Here's the funny thing: my wife knows this, that I would have just assumed that she never competed and she didn't work out, and I didn't care. Like I don't like the hard chiseled abs and hard butt and all that shit. I don't like. I work with it. I get ladies ready for these shows and stuff, but it's not what turns me on personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like a rounder, softer physique. I like something that's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want it to be like chunky and fat, and out of shape and unhealthy looking. But want them to be happy with themselves. Be happy with yourself. Love who you are. If what you love is rock hard chiseled abs, then great, go for it. That's more attractive to me.
Tad, let's plug your radio show. You've talked about it. It's called 3 Questions.
It's 3 Questions with me, Tad the Diet Coach, and I have a co-host, Jessica Perales, when I'm able to get her. So I came up with the idea several months ago to do a radio show that was focused on giving fans and people who listen to the show the ability to know the competitors and know some of the personalities in the sport like I know them as friends and as real people. And so so the questions are never couched around the industry. They're always couched around something personal. So I don't ask industry related questions like what's your diet like, or who's your coach, or what show are you doing, or what are your feelings about this show or this show. I ask things like, what are your goals for in 20 years from now, or what does love mean to you in this lifetime, or things like that. Just things to help people. And based on the person, they're questions that allow me to for people to understand the athlete or the personality as a person, a real person. That to me resonates so much deeper than how much cardio that a person does, or what diet they're on, or what contests they're going to do. I mean, they can find that stuff out from any other outlet and have those conversations. And I do like those conversations, but not on the show. The show is designed to look at the person, and not the person as a person, and not the person as the athlete.
Very cool. So, and where can people reach you for dieting? Where can we get Tad the Diet Coach? I assume it's tadthedietcoach.com.
Well, my radio show comes out every Wednesday on iTunes, but they can reach me on my website, tadthedietcoach.com, or any of the Twitter, Tad the Diet Coach. I started doing this Periscope thing. You guys doing this Periscope thing? This is really freaking cool.
Registered, and I'm sort of starting to.
So I love it, and I encourage people to follow me, because I'm going to start doing more Periscopes, and people love it. They were giving me lots of great hearts, lots of attention from it, and it's cool because it's like a live broadcasting kind of a thing, and it's one of those I'm going to probably Periscope at the Olympia and this kind of, so that people could see the view that I see and ask me questions, and I could sort of give them a different experience instead of the stuff that you see on Bodybuilding.com. And there's nothing wrong with Bodybuilding.com's a presentation of the Olympia, but last year was shit.
It was horrible. Yeah,
it was horrible. It was like nobody wants to see that. Like what they want to. So I want people to be able to see stuff that I see, like backstage and talking to people and this kind of thing at the expo. And so it just gives it another little. It's just one more social media outlet to get validation
from. Well, Tad, we won't take up any more of your time. We really do appreciate you coming on Inside Bodybuilding, and the continued success and best of luck. And we'll see you. Taylor and I will both be at the Olympia, so hopefully we can run into you and say hello.
Yeah. Text me or something. I'll shoot you my number and text me, and maybe we'll go have some sushi or something. I always like a great reason to have sushi. So
done. I am all over the sushi. I'll be there.
Thanks a lot, Ted.